It is time to go live, ladies and gentlemen. Right up there in the corner, it says go live, and then you hit the button, and all of a sudden you are live. Nice to see you all on Christmas Eve. It says there's no one watching. That's always good. That's always good. It allows me to just go crazy here. Just go crazy. Well, here we are in beautiful Bellows Falls, Vermont. Betty Sue and I went to a Christmas Eve sing-along at the Wethersfield Center Church, ladies and gentlemen. The Wethersfield Center Church up in Wethersfield Center, Vermont, the church of my great-great-great-grandfather, was the first settled minister in Wethersfield, Vermont. And we all stood outside with a blazing fire, and we sang Christmas songs badly. It was colder. It was so cold, ladies and gentlemen. It was so utterly, bone-chillingly cold. There was a snowball that had rolled up against the logs that were burning. As Betty Sue pointed out, that snowball was there from about the third song till the last song, and it showed no signs of melting. Nor did we. But we made it back. Betty Sue is over at the studio, visiting with Studio Cat Corduroy. And it's time for me to wish you all a Merry, Merry Christmas Eve. Now, tonight, there is no snow plowing do-gooder beneficiary at all. It's merely the spirit of Christmas is why we're reading this. Tomorrow, I'll be reading a 36-page, an extremely long, treacly story called The Bird's Christmas Carol. And for that, we will have a beneficiary. And if you can toss a few dollars tomorrow to that beneficiary, that would be a good thing. But tonight, no money expected, no money asked for. Just sit back and enjoy. No, Virginia, there isn't a Santa Claus, which was published in February 1991, which means it came out in like December of 1990 in Spy magazine. Spy was a satirical New York glossy magazine back in the era when there were lots and lots of magazines. And they famously called Donald Trump, then a hack of a real estate developer, the short-fingered vulgarian, which is a phrase that still resonates today, except now he's twice impeached, probable felon. But, aside from that, no, Virginia, there is not a Santa Claus. Do you believe in Santa Claus? This is a complex theological question that each child must decide for him or herself. Until now, that is. With the aid of computers, Spy Jr. has conducted a rigorous statistical investigation into the question of Santa's existence. Be forewarned, however, you may not like our conclusions. We begin our investigation by assuming that Santa Claus may actually exist. Now, if you've learned anything about human nature, you know it is highly unlikely that a normal man would choose for no particular reason to devote his life to making toys and delivering them to boys and girls the world over. But this is an objective inquiry, and questions of motivation are not relevant. We want only to know whether a man could accomplish what we want only to know whether such a man could accomplish his mission. Santa's first obstacle, of course, is that no known species of reindeer can fly. However, scientists estimate that out of the Earth's roughly 2 million species of living organisms, 300,000 or so have yet to be classified. So even though most of these undiscovered species are insects and germs, we can't rule out the slight possibility that a species of flying reindeer does in fact exist, and that no one besides Santa has ever seen one. A bigger obstacle for Santa is that there are 2 billion children under the age of 18 in the world. The good news is that he needs to deliver presents only to Christian children, of whom there are approximately 378 million, according to figures provided by the Population Reference Bureau. Let's assume that 15% of these Christian children have been naughty and therefore, like Muslim, Hindu, Jewish, and Buddhist children, are ineligible for gift getting. Still, at an average rate of 3.5 children per household, Santa has a backbreaking 91.8 million homes to visit on Christmas Eve. Fortunately, Santa has 31 hours of Christmas Eve darkness to visit all these homes if he travels from east to west, thanks to the rotation of the Earth. Unfortunately, this still works out to 822.6 visits per second. So for each Christian household with good children, Santa has just over 1,000th of a second to land, hop out of his sleigh, jump down the chimney, fill the stockings, distribute the rest of the presents under the tree, eat whatever snacks have been left out, get back up the chimney, climb back into his sleigh, take off, and fly to the next house. Well, how fast is Santa moving? Assuming all 91.8 million stops are spread evenly over the Earth's landmass, Santa must travel 0.79 miles per household, a total trip of 72,522,000 miles. This is a conservative estimate. It does not include trips across oceans, feeding stops for flying reindeer, etc., etc. Given the 31-hour time period, Santa's sleigh must maintain an average speed of 650 miles per second, or more than 3,000 times the speed of sound. To give you an idea how fast that is, the fastest man-made vehicle ever built, the Ulysses space probe, travels at a relatively pokey pace of 27.4 miles per second. And conventional land-bound reindeer travel a top speed of 15 miles per hour. But let's just assume that Santa's flying reindeer are somehow able to reach hypersonic speeds, thanks, let's just say, to the magical spirit of Christmas giving. Let's take a closer look at Santa's vehicle. First of all, assuming a cheapo 2 pounds of presents per child, that's like one crummy Lego set. The sleigh must still be able to carry a load of 321,300 tons, plus Santa, an overweight man. On land, a reindeer can't pull more than On land, a reindeer cannot pull more than 300 pounds of freight. And even assuming that flying reindeer could pull 10 times that amount, Santa's massive sleigh has to be drawn by 214,200 beasts. This increased the weight of the payload, of the Santa payload, to 353,430 tons, not including the weight of the sleigh itself. This is more than 4 times the weight of the Queen Elizabeth ocean liner. Imagine Santa skimming over rooftops in a gargantuan hypersonic aircraft with even less maneuverability than a big wheel. Here's where things get fun. 353,000 tons of reindeer and presents are going to create an enormous amount of air resistance, especially at 650 miles per second. This air resistance will heat the reindeer in the same way that spaceships are heated up when they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. According to our calculations, the lead pair of reindeer will absorb 14.3 quintillion joules of energy per second each. This means that they will burst into spectacular multicolored flames almost instantaneously, exposing the reindeer behind them. As Santa continues on his mission, leaving deafening sonic booms in his wake, charred reindeer will constantly be sloughed off. All 214,200 reindeer will be dead within 4.26 thousandths of a second. As for Santa, he will be subjected to centrifugal forces, 17,506,000 times greater than gravity. A 250-pound Santa will be pinned to the back of his sleigh by 4,375,015 pounds of force after we deduct his weight. This force will kill Santa instantly, crushing his bones, pulverizing his flesh, turning him into pink goo. In other words, if Santa tries to deliver presents on Christmas Eve to every qualified boy and girl on the face of the earth, he will be liquefied. If he even exists, he is already dead. So where do the presents come from? Weirdly kind-hearted intruders? Stupid robbers? Magic? Your parents, maybe? We won't insult your intelligence with the answer. Yes, no, Virginia, there is no Santa Claus. What a fine, fine essay that is. Now, because it is only 7:58, I promised a second reading, because tomorrow, as I say, 36 pages of The Bird's Christmas Carol, which would make my mother very happy and my father very annoyed. Last week, I read Robert Benchley's Edith's Christmas Burglar. Tonight, I will read Robert Benchley's A Christmas Spectacle. For use in Christmas Eve entertainments in the vestry. At the opening of the entertainment, the superintendent will step into the footlights, recover his balance apologetically, and say, "Boys and girls of the intermediate department, parents and friends, I suppose you all know why we're here tonight." At this point, the audience will titter apprehensively. Mrs. Drury and her class of little girls have been working very, very hard to make this entertainment a success, and I am sure that everyone here tonight is going to have what I overheard one of the boys saying is going to be some good time. Indulgent laughter from the little boys. And may I add, before the curtain goes up, that immediately after the entertainment, we want you all to file out into the Christian Endeavor room, where there will be a Christmas tree with all the fixins, as the boys say. Shrill whistles from the little boys and immoderate applause from everyone else. There will then be a wait. There will then be a wait of 25 minutes while sounds of hammering and dropping may be heard from behind the curtains. The Boys Club Orchestra will render the Poet and Peasants Overture 4 times in succession, each time differently. At last, one side of the curtains will be drawn back. The other will catch on something and have to be released by hand. Someone will whisper loudly, "Put out the lights," following which the entire house will be plunged into darkness. Amidst catcalls from the little boys, the footlights will at last go on, disclosing the windows in the rear of the vestry, rather ineffectually concealed by a group of small fir trees on standards, one of which has already fallen over, leaving exposed a corner of the map of Palestine and the list of Gold Star classes for November. In the center of the stage is a larger tree, undecorated, while at the extreme left, invisible to everyone in the audience except for those sitting at the extreme right, is an imitation fireplace leaning against the wall. 25 seconds too early, little Flora Rochester will prance out from the wings, uttering the first shrill notes of a song, and will have to be grabbed by eager hands and pulled back. 24 seconds later, the piano will begin The Return of the Reindeer with a powerful accent on the first note of each bar, and Flora Rochester, Lillian McNulty, Gertrude Hamingham, and Martha Rist will swirl on, dressed in white, and advance heavily into the footlights, which will go out. There will then be an interlude while Mr. Neff, the sexton, adjusts the connection, during which the 4 little girls stand undecided whether to brave it out or cry. As a compromise, they giggle and are herded back into the wings by Mrs. Drury amidst applause. When the lights go on again, the applause becomes deafening, and Mr. Neff walks triumphantly away. The little boys in the audience will whistle, there she goes, all dressed up in her Sunday clothes. The Return of the Reindeer will be started again, and the showgirls will reappear, this time more gingerly and somewhat dispirited. They will, however, sing the following to the music of the Ballet Pizzicato from Sylvia. We greet you on this Christmas Eve so fine. We greet you, and wish you a good time. They will then turn toward the tree, and Flora Rochester will advance, hanging a silver star on one of the branches. Meanwhile, reciting a verse, the only distinguishable words of which are, I am faith, so strong and pure. At the conclusion of her recitation, the star will fall off. Lillian McNulty will then step forward and hang her star on a branch, reading her lines in clear tones. And I am hope, a virtue great, my gift to Christmas. Now I make that children and grown-ups may hope today that tomorrow will be a merry Christmas day. The hanging of the 3rd star will be consummated by Gertrude Hamingham, who will get as far as, sweet charity I bring to place upon the tree, at which point the strain will become too great and she will forget the remainder. After several frantic glances toward the wings, from which Mrs. Drury is sending out whispered messages to the effect that the next line begins, "My message bright," Gertrude will disappear, crying softly. After the morale of the cast has been in some measure restored by the pianist, who, with great presence of mind, plays a few bars of "Will there be any stars in my crown?" to cover up Gertrude's exit, Martha Wrist will unleash a rope of silver tinsel from the foot of the tree and, stringing it over the boughs as she skips around in a circle, she will say with great assurance, "Round and round the tree I go, through the holly and the snow, bringing love and Christmas cheer through the happy year to come." At this point, there'll be a great commotion and a jangling of sleigh bells off stage, and Mr. Creamer, rather poorly disguised as Santa Claus, will emerge from the opening in the imitation fireplace. A great popular demonstration for Mr. Creamer will follow. He will then advance to the footlights and, rubbing his pillow and ducking his knees to denote joviality, he will say thickly through his false beard, "Well, well, well, what have we here? A lot of bad little boys and girls who aren't going to get any Christmas presents this year." Nervous laughter from the little boys and girls. "Let me see. Let me see. I have a note here from Dr. Whidden. Let's see what it says." Reads from a paper on which there is obviously nothing written. "If you and the young people of the intermediate department will come into the Christian Endeavor room, I think we may have a little surprise for you." "Well, well, well, what do you suppose it can be?" Cries of I know, from sophisticated ones in the audience. "Maybe it's a bottle of castor oil." Raucous cheers from the little boys and elaborately simulated disgust on the part of the little girls. "Well, anyway, suppose we go out and see. Now, if Miss Liftnagel will oblige us with a little march on the piano, we will all form in a single file." At this point, there will ensue a stampede toward the Christian Endeavor room, in which chairs will be broken, decorations demolished, and the protesting Mr. Creamer badly hurt. This will bring to a close the first part of the evening's entertainment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you go forth and have a wonderful Christmas day. Go forth, spread peace, love, and understanding to all those around you. I'll try to do that too. You take good care. We will see you tomorrow night for the Birds' Christmas Carol. Bye-bye.